Well, hello and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. My name is Clyde Gillard. I'm the go-to-market leader for AI at HPE. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Eileen Smith, Senior Vice President, Data and Analytics at Cboe. One of the challenges you have is adoption and fear. AI is kind of a scary thing. People are like, oh my gosh, it's going to take my job. And it sounds like you've really embraced this and educated your employee base, your teams as a result. And did I get my numbers right? It's 1,600 employees and 1,000 already trained. That's a pretty substantial commitment to training. Is this a continuation and an ongoing effort, or is it just a one-time deal? How did you do it?
It's very, very much continuing. It's one of the AI COE's main priorities is education. So we did general education where I think they're standing up. There's education, of course, on our self-serve education as well that we provide, but these actual classes that the team teaches, and then they do one-on-ones with different people and also with different groups. So if one of our sales teams came to us and said, we want to learn more about AI for us, and so we create kind of bespoke training for each of the groups to make sure we're addressing the issues that they have. So it's continuous. It will go on until the thing about AI is it keeps changing. So and the uses keep getting better and better. So I feel like everyone has to just to keep up. You have to keep training.
Early in our conversation, you made this comment, creating a data-driven culture. And I guess I'm just trying to, wrap my arms around that. Is this what you mean by creating a data-driven culture? Having the training, doing the AI Olympics, creating a COE. Is there other components you would share on creating a data-driven culture with the listeners so they get a better idea of, how you viewed it and how you create it and how you foster a AI data-driven culture?
Sure. So I think we do it on the AI side, but we started off doing it on the old-fashioned data side, I would say. So it's just kind of expanded from there. And what we did was since we created this centralized data analytics team, we were able to, like as I said before, provide standardized data, provide answers, provide data that's easy to use in the cloud, because providing a whole bunch of data is just a mess for business users. And then we work kind of hard to train our business users so that they're using the tools properly and they're getting the most out of it. So I'm going to say that's kind of been our MO on the data side, and it's been pretty effective. And then we have a quantitative research team on our side who does very in-depth research. So once people start seeing what can be done, they want to play too. So we have a 22-person team right now, and so it's not like we can do all of the analysis for the company or all the AI for the company. We're not big enough, but because we've gotten everything's out there, so people get excited and people start doing it themselves. So there's always a challenge on that, because somebody's like, oh, I want to bring in this AI thing, or oh, I want to bring in this data thing. So we have to try to keep it in line and make sure that we're not going crazy with that stuff. But so that's maybe a little bit of the downside of people being excited. But the upside is that people are thinking about things on their own. They're doing things on their own. They're making sure they're all using the same tools, which is the biggest thing in my mind. So.
Yeah. And I think, to your point is you encourage everyone to participate, but you can't do everything that everyone wants to do, but you want to make sure everyone feels as though they were heard in the process, yeah. Right? So it's delicate. And, I think in the beginning you mentioned, a number of years, decades you've been in this industry. And you also talked about how fast things are changing. I guess, as I kind of look to the future, what skills do you think are important for the next generation of data professionals, right? We're sort of talking about all this great stuff and it's kind of cool to watch it, but everything we just talked about, is really changing the game. So, if you had some suggestions for the next data professionals coming behind us, what would you think are critical skills for them to have?
I mean, obviously you have to have technical skills. In our world, you need to know SQL or you need to know Python. Those are hard skills. I think to me, and it's what I try to teach everyone on my team, who are all much younger than I am, is be interested, be excited, look for the right tool to do things. Don't become wedded to the way you did things last week or last year. If you're looking at a quantitative research problem that you normally might have looked at in either using machine learning or using even just a brute force kind of tactics and looking at data, maybe try AI. Or I just had an example like that this week. I said, let's look at AI and see if it can help. And so it's like don't, to me, it's like keep learning and don't get stuck in what you think you know. To me, is the biggest thing that anybody can do now. I think if you get stuck, you get stuck.
Well, that's great advice. And, it kind of leads to my next question. Don't get stuck in your routines. Be open. Where do you see the future going, right? I mean, AI is just kind of changing a whole bunch, that's for sure. And, where are we heading towards the Terminator? Are we heading towards another vision of the future? Where do you see AI overall impacting society? And then maybe we'll, focus on in your particular business.
For me, it's a really hard question because, I keep every day now there's a new article saying AI is going to replace all of us. And I have a very, very hard time believing it. And I think that there are things that humans do that are important, and there are things that can do that could be replaced by AI. There's no question. But when you look at people, how you think about things and how you ask questions, I feel like that's still important, and how you solve the questions that you're answering, I think is going to be more reliant on AI. But asking the questions to me is still the most important piece of things that we do, and I that piece I don't see AI taking over. I could be totally naive, which is fine, but that's where I see that people's value is going to become in how you look at things and how you ask questions and how you leverage the AI to do things for you. Again, that might be a very narrow view, but that's kind of the way I think about it right now.
Well, I saw Jensen Huang quoted. He's the CEO of NVIDIA, a pretty prominent AI player. And his answer to that question was AI will not put people out of business except for those people that aren't using AI. So
yeah, that sounds right.
Kind of like an interesting, I guess, and on that, line of thinking. I live in the Boston area, and I was leaving the airport last week, and there's a big billboard. I'll leave the name of the company off of it, but it said, "Don't hire humans, hire agents." And the notion that you're reading is that the IT department of the future will become the AI or the HR department of the future, because you'll be onboarding agent technology, agentic AI components. And when you do that, what do? You have to bring the agent on board. You have to tell him or him, I guess I'm already giving it a gender. You have to tell the agent, what the policies of the company are, what their role is and how it works. Not too different than bringing on a consultant, right? So do you have a view of where agentic AI and where onboarding AI to complete these tasks, where does that fit in the future? Do you have thoughts on that for Cboe specifically, or the industry in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now it's still nascent, and it's still going to be. I think agentic AI is still going to be, for us at least, is going to be creating what you want, but not letting it push the button. So like it's still, I view this right now as we still want somebody looking at it going, yeah, that actually makes sense. One of my favorite stories, to do a quick tangent, is there was a lawsuit I think it was in Canada, against an airline because somebody asked a chatbot. They had to buy a plane ticket to go to a funeral, and they asked the chatbot if there was any discounts for going to a funeral, and the chatbot answers that there were. Pay the ticket now and you can submit it and get a refund. Chatbot made that up, and the airline said, we're not doing that, that's not our policy, and they lost in court. So to me, like that's a while ago, so it's not like things have gotten better, but to me that's a reason to be careful and to make sure. I mean, obviously there are more reasons to be careful, but that's kind of my thought is like, we want to make sure what we're sending out of our four walls is accurate. And right now we want people in that mix. I'm certain that probably in, 6 months or a year, we'll probably be more comfortable and using it. But that's where we are right now.
Well, that's a new example. I have another one of a car dealership that the chatbot agreed to sell a brand new car for $1, right? And that was out in California. What I tell people in my presentations is that, look, AI will lie to you with the utmost certainty. And it's not that it wants to, it just doesn't know how to say, I don't know. So it'll tell you the next thing that it thinks it knows, and it says that with certainty. So certainly there's a little bit of human in the loop that's important as part of this. But as the future goes forward, I guess my last question as I sort of wrap it up, as you look at this AI and generative AI and agentic AI, what are your I guess, what's the biggest concern you might have in preparing for the future, and what's your most optimistic promise that you think it brings?
Biggest concern is just going to be using it accurately and making sure it's used accurately and making sure, and we're, like, as you mentioned before, we're very regulated. So we want to make sure our data is not leaking out of all those things that are extremely important, security and governance and everything. That's a huge thing. And it's one of the very key pieces to the AI Center of Excellence and the way we've implemented AI. But I think I don't even think I can envision the possibilities and what it does for us. I mean, it's just been so, it's game changing right now, and we're still just at the surface of using it. So it's like I said, if you'd asked me a year ago, I would be nowhere near where I am today. So I don't know, which is
Well,
fun.
no, none of us really do, but I think
Yeah,
that's why we're in the business we're in. I like solving business problems with data and technology, and that's the space we're both in.
yeah,
So, and I want to thank you. I'm looking at the clock. I think we've bumped into our time frame, but
sure.
thank you for joining me today. And also, if you like this kind of interview, please visit cdomagazine.tech and look for other insights from these kinds of conversations. So again, thank you so
Great.
much, and have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Pleasure.